fire marshal's office. You teach?
I'm trying.
Just be sure you sign the paper out there. There's a few more from left to have to sign in over here with their fire extinguisher training paper. Just to show your friendship, so you get your certificate. Okay? Again, Charlie Bourne with the fire marshal's office here. Y'all probably seen him out inspecting their school buildings. Okay, Charlie.
Thank you, we appreciate it. Okay, again, my name is Charlie Clark from the Jackson County Fire Marshal's Office. And I want to talk to you a little bit about fire extinguishers today. First of all, how many of you, let me see by show of hands, will be taking the actual fire extinguisher training out here? Okay, so I give an idea. Okay, all right, but the rest of you are going to have to listen to me too. So, and I know y'all just want to sit here and listen to me talk all the rest of the day and stuff like that. It's 35 minutes talk over outside of it. One thing I learned in the fire service, I learned about the KISS method. Anybody know what the KISS method is? K-I-S-S? Keep it simple, stupid. Here we go. That's the KISS method. I learned that in the fire service. It means true. And a lot of times we do by another method called the SWAG method. S-W-A-G. Anybody familiar with the SWAG method? It's called systematic wild ass guessing. Okay. That's some of the situations that we get into also. But what we want to learn today and go over a refresher for a lot of it is on the fire extinguisher. Now let's see how many of you remember about the fire extinguisher. First of all, how many different types of fires are there?
Four. I said four.
There's four. You're going to be dealing with three if you deal with any of it at all. You don't want to touch the fourth at all. You don't have anything that's going to help you with the fourth at all. Basically, we don't have it in the fire department either. Because it's either going to take sand or a special type of silicone to put this out, or either put it completely enclosed that. Well, you can't do that because it produces its own oxygen. So that's a lost cause. But we're going to be dealing with Class A, Class B, and Class C type fire. Class A is your ordinary combustibles, and that includes like your plastics, your carpet, your paper, your woods, all that. Those are Class A's. And a lot of times you can put a lot of that out with water. Water is the most common extinguishing agent, but we don't have that. We have the ABC machine. Class B is going to be your flammable combustible liquids. Gasoline, kerosene, diesel fuel, grease, wax, all these are classified as combustible or flammable liquids. And Class C is electrical. Anything with electrical, the first thing you've got to do is what? Disconnect the power. Don't ever try to fight a Class C fire until you know the power is shut off, because if not, it's going to keep coming back. And if you use the wrong substance on it, it's going to knock the putty out, which you don't want. Okay, now let me give you a little bit of information about, say, using different type of fire extinguishers. All of you have computer labs in your schools. And you notice in your computer labs you have a special type, or you should have a special type of fire extinguisher in there. It is not an ABC. It's either a BC or a halide. And that's usually a gas form that comes out. It's halide, it will be a gas form. Now let me tell you, if you use that, be extremely careful. Halide has a special quality in it. It has what is known as an affinity for air. In other words, it's like a big sponge sucking up all the oxygen in the air. If it's an enclosed area. And if you're in there using it in that enclosed area, and you use that thing, it can take the oxygen right out of your lungs too. You're done. So, be extremely careful with those if you use them. Because when they first came out, people said, oh heavens, I can use this in an engine fire or something like that, and they would get down an engine on a car and stuff like that, and use these things, and get it down there with it, and shoot, they were passing out. Because as they were putting fire out, they were also taking the oxygen out of their lungs, passing. Well, it's just like a big sponge, just sucking it up. Wherever you get the oxygen, it's going to get it. Okay, but that's what you've got in your labs. Be mindful of that. Just be aware of it. Okay, now, and again, any electronics that you have, you may not spray it with water, you may not spray it with fire extinguisher or whatever else. If smoke gets in on your electronics, they're shot. The acid in the smoke will destroy any electronics you've got if it's in a smoky atmosphere. So, a lot of times, yeah, say, I won't say this, I won't do everything else, but you've got smoke-filled rooms, that stuff's basically shot. It's fried. So just to let you know that up front. You're going to do everything you can to put fire out, and you will, if you can. Another thing about using a fire extinguisher, It is a first aid device. Now, what do I mean by first aid device? It's a Band-Aid. This thing, like you see in movies and stuff like that, people come in and they pull the pin and they start spraying, and 30 minutes later, they're still spraying out of this one fire extinguisher. Ain't no way. Ain't no way. That's Hollywood, that's TV, everything else. You pull the pin on this and push the handle down on this, you got maybe 45 seconds, and that's it. It's what you got. That's all you're going to get. Now, don't think that if I'm using this fire extinguisher and I just hit it one time and I get a little burst out of it, I can put the fire out good. I'll just stick the pin back in and put it back up. No, this thing is out of service. The reason being, the power in here is so fine that it will never seal properly again, and then all the nitrogen inside, which forces the power out, will leak out. So it can still read full, but you don't have a bit of nitrogen in there to push it out. So if you bounce it and pop it one time, it's done. And again, it might just be a little spurt, it might be a second blast, and everything else. But at that point in time, take it out. It's out of service. And let me tell you, if you have any questions, please don't be afraid to ask. Because in school, when I was coming in, up and everything else, there was always one stupid question. And that stupid question is the one that you have that you do not ask. That's the only stupid question that there is. If you have a question, and ask it. I'll try to find you. If I don't know the answer, I'll find somebody else who does, so we can get you that answer. Please do not be afraid to ask. Now, that's the one thing that's very, very important. Now, when using the fire extinguisher, again, it is, like I said, a Band-Aid. And in being a Band-Aid, how big of a fire is this really good for? Really, it's a good-sized trash can, and that's about it. If it's much bigger than a trash can, get your people out, shut the door in the area where it's has, and get your behind out and call the 911. Don't worry about it. People, our buildings and materials can be replaced. You can. And the people that you're going to be working with cannot. So don't worry about it. This is a Band-Aid. But if you do use a fire extinguisher, always make certain that you have a means of escape. Always, you have a door or a way to get out at your back the whole time and keep the fire in front of you. Never let the fire get between you and the doorway, because it might get big enough that you cannot get out. And you don't want to be in that situation. You see other things running through the fires and everything else and jumping over and everything else. Oh yeah, they'll jump over, but they're going to be hurt pretty bad. It's not a good situation. So always remember, think of yourself. If it's not much bigger than a waste can or something like that, don't mess with it. Now, how many of you have dealt with anything in the kitchen areas using with grease fires or anything? How many are familiar with K-type extinguishers? Okay, I got to do that one for you. Every school has K extinguishers. Do you know what they look like? They're silver and they look like a short pressurized water extinguisher. You've got them in all of your kitchens. You've got a portable extinguisher, and then your food systems that have extinguisher systems on them have the same type of material. It's a liquid that's inside. It is not a powder, because you don't want to get involved in cleaning up the powder in the kitchen area. I don't know if you've ever had to deal with that before with the health department. It ain't fun. Case in point, several years back, there was a fire at one of the restaurants in the county. It was a fish camp. They used a 5-pound ABC fire extinguisher in a deep fryer. And they just used that one 5-pound fire extinguisher. They maybe squirted it probably for about 3 to 5 seconds, put the fire out. Not only smoke and everything else, but the materials that come in at the powder. Now, the powder has a different effect on people. The powder in itself is a trichloromethane type material, and it's good on putting fires out, but it's also good at making people sick. If you have respiratory problems, it can cause flu-like symptoms. If you have asthma, it can mess with you pretty badly. It can make you feel pretty bad for several days. But with this restaurant, they used it. This is on a Friday afternoon. They had already started preparing for food. Went out there, told them, okay. It just so happens the health department couldn't get out there, so they told me what to do for me to pass the word on. I really appreciated that. Because they said basically they're shutting down until everything gets cleaned up. But it just so happens that the powder they used was a powder called Purple K. And they didn't call it CDC down in Atlanta. The only way to neutralize that is to wash it down with a solution of warm water and baking soda, like you want to have baking soda. But what they had to wash down was not only the kitchen area, and this is not just the utensil area, or not just the prep areas and everything else. These are all the racks, all the pots and pans, all the silverware, anything that was exposed. These are the counters, these are the walls, these are the ceilings, all the light fixtures, all the floors, all the outside of the freezers, because the freezers were airtight, they were lucky with that. But any food that was outside and not in a protected container had to be thrown away. They couldn't wait food without one to eat. Then they had to go out into the dining area and do the same thing. All the booths, all the tables, all the walls, all the ceilings, everything else had to be washed down because of 1 5-pound ABC with the Purple K type material in it, because it could cause a lot of problems. And that's what they said. So then, after I told them all that good jolly news and everything else, I walked out the door, the health department come to the next day and said, okay, you're done. And they were happy with the health department, they were happy with the fire. That's the way it follows. But this is what a lot of this stuff is. So be aware. That's why we use a K-type extinguisher, because it's liquid. Once it hits a material on grease, actually it makes that what we call grease inert. In other words, it turns into soap. That's what it does. So it's not going to burn. And it'll get down to the grease and everything else down in there, and the deep fat fryers, which we don't have here anymore. Right here. A lot of them still have the braziers, still skillets and stuff like that. But we don't have that really to contend with that much anymore. Since I think most of everything now is baking and ovens and everything else like that we have. But still not all got to have those systems in there. But using that, it's a whole lot cheaper to use that. Now to refill one of those things, it's not cheap, it's about $350. Refill one of those. That's a whole lot cheaper to refill than one of the big systems, where you've got about 4 times the materials in there. You're well over $1,000. Refill it, reset, and everything else in this extinguisher. But again, it keeps everything confined, spread out. So that's the reason that we go to a K-type extinguisher. So that's a lot more FYI for y'all to let you know what those are all about, because you may run into that situation. Now, the one thing about the kitchens and the hood systems, they are to be inspected every 6 months instead of every year, whereas all these extinguishers are every year. Those back there are every 6 months. And that's what the code calls for it. That's that. Okay. Now, is anybody familiar with what we call the acronym called PASS? P-A-S-S. Come on, people who had this course. Okay, I'm here.
Full aim, sweet.
There you go. Full aim, squeeze, and sweep. That's what this means. Basically, that's what you're doing right here. That's what the little picture graph is for. It tells you what you need to do. What you do is you pull the pin, and you notice that you've got a clip on the top of it. This is a safety clip that's put on by the people who service it to let you know that it has not been messed with. It has not been messed with. It's considered good. You pull the pin, this part breaks. The bottom part is nothing but a handle. That's all that the bottom part of the fire extinguisher is. Okay. And you carry it around all day long. Now this is your trigger right here, so be careful. Once you pull this pin out, you're ready to start fire. What you do, you pull the pin, you take the nozzle, and you aim it at where you're going to shoot. Always you want to aim it at the base of the fire, pushing the fire away from you. Never try to lob it in the middle, never try to lob it over the top, because it will come back on. But aim it at the base of the fire. You squeeze the handle at the top, which will start pushing the powder out, and then you sweep it back and forth and push it away from you the whole time is what you're doing. So that's what PASS means, P-A-S-S. And it's always good to know what to do with it when the situation arises. Because they will, I'll know what to do with it and everything else, that's no problem. Okay, that's fine and good. Now, let me ask you another question. And again, not only can you use it in a school situation, but you can use it at home. Again, getting back to, say, like in a cooking situation, you have to go in the kitchen, you got to pop something on there, and is burned. And for some reason or other, you lost the pressurized portable system, and you don't want the big one overhead to go off. How could you put that fire out? First of all, don't use water.
Baking soda?
Okay, cover, smother. What do you have in your kitchens that you can use to cover and smother? What, you can't find the lid? Cookie sheets, anything like that. Now, how do you put them on? You just drop them over there? How do you do that? You start from the edge and slide it over, pushing the fire away from you, and let it smother itself out. That's what you want to do if you should come up on a situation like that. Even in the high school, I don't know, in the chemistry labs, how many of the high school students do have it? Okay. If you get into a chemistry lab, you're into a different animal altogether. I don't know how much they do with the chemistry lab now, but I know when I was growing up, you know, I went to school together several years ago. I'm not going to say how long, but it was several. And we had the Bunsen burners, and I mean, we put stuff together. Why we didn't kill each other, I don't know. We blew up stuff, we had green flames going down the troughs and everything else. I don't know if they still do a lot of that, or they're allowed to do a lot of that stuff. If they're not, I have no idea. But that's something you need to be aware of. If you've got a chemistry lab or anything else, you can have an ABC fire extinguisher, or the best thing to do is get the people out, shut the doors, call 911. Don't even worry with it. Because I know a lot of them still have a lot of organic chemicals in there. I know they probably still deal with sodium and magnesium and potassium and all these other things that you've got in there, that you get a little bit of something wrong on there and boom, away they go. So again, be extremely careful with what you got to do in chemistry lab. Don't even mess with it. Shut the doors. Make certain people are allowed to shut the doors. Call the fire department. Empty the building. Don't even worry about it. So that is a very important thing to remember anytime you're dealing with any type of chemicals. I'm not going to mess with them. Hey, they can burn out as far as I can hear. Hey, we can replace that one. That's what insurance is. And let it do it. Let it take care of it. Insurance can do it a whole lot better than replacement. Or whatever. Okay. Does anybody have any questions? Wow, this is a very attentive group. Got a lot of good information and everything else. Can you use K-pipe? Sure. But just remember, when it comes out, it's going to be a solid string. It's going to be a liquid. And so be very, very aware that when it hits, it's going to be more like a jelly type when it hits. Just, hey, if you got it, you can use it, use it. Basically, you're looking anywhere from, I'll say $35 to $50 is what you're looking at. Again, I don't know what the prices are. I mean, these are figures that I've heard of. But yet, it's like one of those hail knives. It's about everything else that you get. They're running about $300. That's why I like playing on CO2. It's got to be poured on the end of it, puts out the fog or mist. That's a DC type. That's the you get the same thing as a hail knife. Do the same thing. A whole lot cheaper to use. Okay. All right. What's an A-type fire? Ordinary combustion. What's a B-type fire? Flammable combustible liquids, grease, kerosene, anything else that you want to get with like that. Your C-type fire. And what's the first thing you got to do with that? Kill the power. Kill the power. That's the main thing. And on C-type fire, and again, bring it back to that question about the K-type extinguisher. It's a liquid, and if it's got strong enough voltage, it will follow that liquid. And it will go right back to you. So be aware. That's something you want to be aware about, because it will take a lot of electricity that you have there. Now, ladies, I want you to be aware of something, and guys too. I notice a lot of different type of footwear when I walk in and see. And I know most people like to wear tennis shoes. I mean, I do too. But when you're working around a fire extinguisher, you need to be aware how a fire extinguisher is constructed. What's on the bottom of a fire extinguisher? Have you ever looked? Have you ever felt the bottom of a fire extinguisher? I dare say nobody has. Well, to give you an idea, if you look at the bottom of a fire extinguisher, you got probably about 1/4 of an inch steel ring. That doesn't sound that much. But let's think, okay, this would be classified as a 5-pound ABC, and with the weight of the cylinder, that's just 5 pounds of powder. But then you put the weight of the cylinder and everything else, you got about 15 to 17 pounds. And that's its own weight. I didn't force it down. You heard that. What do you think about that going on top of your foot? It'll break your toes. And guess what? You're useless. You ain't going anywhere. You're going to be on the floor, swirling around, grabbing hold of the toe or the foot, saying all sorts of words and everything else. Those are going to be running, the tears are going to be running out of your eyes, and you're totally useless. Be extremely careful with these things. Because when you grab a hold of them, make sure you have a hold of these things. Because if not, I have seen people who have dropped them on their toes, and they broke 4 toes. I've seen them when they had a 10-pound ABC, and they took off 2 toes. It will amputate. But again, they had a lightweight canvas, almost like a deck shoe, but it's real lightweight. And when they grabbed a hold of it, they didn't have a good hold of it. Boom, down it went, and their foot just happened to be right under it. And I've seen it go down and take the shin, get right below the knee, just skin the shin all the way down. You're useless again. So again, be extremely careful with this thing. You're going to be in an excited state when you use this thing. And you're going to think, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? All these different things you're going to remember. All of them remember. Make sure that you have a good hold on these things, you know what you're going to do, and how you want to do it. Because again, it doesn't hurt. Every now and then, when you're in your school, go by and just read the information on it. Years ago, they didn't have all these pictures. We just had A, B, and C on here. Desert type fire. But one thing they did in Europe and outside the United States was the only country that did not have what we call pictographs. And then it tells you on the front what it can do. It will show you a picture of Class A, like a trash can on fire. Class B, like what we call a jerry can or a gas can. It's got fire shooting out of it. And Class C, which is an old style 2-prong electric plug with a receptacle. Now, they're all the same color. Now, if it's got a circle and a red slash through it, it means it's not from that type of fire. But if it doesn't have that, it's for all 3 types. This is for people who cannot read. They can read a picture, but they can't read the letters. Or for people who are colorblind, because each of them have their own color. The old Class A was green. Class B's were red. Class C's were blue. And Class D, which is combustible metal, which we're not going to mess with, was a star and had 3 elements. And it used to be color-coded, and you had a letter. But they found out that so many people could not read, they were colorblind, and could not read. So that's why they went to the pictogram. They can understand the pictogram. So that's why anywhere you go in the world, they have a fire extinguisher, you will see these symbols on those fire extinguishers. That's what you're going to see. It's going to be the picture. Okay. Any questions? Everybody know everything about fire extinguishers? I'm seeing some people shaking. Okay, that's fine. That's good. Okay. When do you have anything else? We can go ahead and take people who need to do it. We got everything set up out there. Y'all play with the fire extinguisher and put fire out.
All right, those of you that got to play with the fire extinguisher, been out here at the dumpster, right there right now. The rest of y'all, thanks for coming. You need to go back to school. You do what you need to do to check it out, get back to school, whatever. Those that got to take training,